Welcome to today's Knowledge webinar, AI-powered architecture design with D5 Render and Rhino. In this session, we'll demonstrate a real project to show how Rhino and D5 Render work together, showcasing their seamless interoperability. We'll also utilize D5's advanced features like AI atmosphere match, AI-generated materials, AI enhancer, asset library, D5 scatter, and animations. Um, all this to achieve lifelike architectural designs and high quality visualization. So stick around for a great show. Today's presenter, Jeff Espinoza, is the Customer Success Manager at D5 Render, and he has a background in digital design and a strong foundation in architectural design. He's dedicated to ensuring users have the best possible experience with D5 Render. Now let me show you a little bit. Let me show you where you can find D5 Render on the Knowledge catalog. Just search for D5 Render. This page will appear, and also the different type of subscription you can get. I want to remind everybody that you can always call us. The phone number is at the top of every page of our catalog, and we're here for you. In fact, Knowledge is changing the way designers purchase 3D software with all of the choice, all the freedom, advice, and incredible service. So check us out at knowledge.com. Now let me share Jeff's screen so he can showcase D5 Render. Take it away, Jeff. We're seeing your beautiful slides.
Great. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thanks everyone for taking the time to join us here today. As Barbara mentioned, my name is Jeff. I'm the Customer Success Manager here at D5 Render, and I'll be sharing just a couple of highlights with D5 Render. So to get things started, I'll just share, just a quick overview of D5 Render. We are an industry-leading 3D real-time rendering solution, and we hope to elevate your creative workflow with simplicity and efficiency by providing you with the best balance between speed and quality, seamless integration with your favorite modeling software, as well as a user-friendly workflow for designers, architects, visualizers, and ArcViz animation professionals alike. And lastly, we also provide free access and a cost-effective Steam subscription option. So again, these are just some quick overviews and some quick highlights that I'll be covering more in depth throughout this webinar. And besides that, we are also the first AI-powered real-time renderer, and we have over 200 employees worldwide that are, dedicated to providing the best product for you. So we're always working on improving the product and listening to our users, as well as, speaking of our users, we have users spread across over 200 countries, as well as over 1.8 million users worldwide. And here are just a few examples of the results you can achieve with D5 Render, whether you're working on an intimate interior scene such as this one over here, or if you're working in a sprawling urban project like this one here to the left. D5 Render is well equipped to handle all the scenes that you might be working on a daily basis. And the best part of it all is that you can achieve these stunning results with like minimal effort, so they can just focus on the creative process itself rather than having to focus too much on the visualization aspect of things. And as I mentioned before, we are a dedicated team consistently working on delivering the best product possible. We're constantly releasing significant updates every 3 months, and these aren't just small bug fixes here and there. These are feature rollouts as well. So in the past 9 months, we've released 2.6, 2.7, and 2.8. And with each update, we saw new features rolled out. So with 2.6, we started to explore some AI features such as AI atmosphere match and AI generated texture maps. And then in 2.7, we doubled down on these AI features and made some enhancements to these AI material creations, as well as text to 3D. And we also released this D5 scatter feature, which is pretty popular within our users. So we can take some time to highlight that in this demo as well. And then our latest release is 2.8. So with 2.8, we released AI enhancer, as well as our Rhino LiveSync plugin. And now that you have that quick overview of what D5 Render offers, we can move on to today's agenda. So first, we'll talk about some common challenges that our users face, and then we'll dive into a detailed D5 Render overview, followed by a live demo. And then finally, we'll wrap things up with an open Q&A session. And of course, we'll have our lucky draw in that session as well. So here are just some common pain points that we've heard from our users. One of them is cost concerns. Clients often worry about pricing and how it affects their budget. And so with D5 Render, we offer a cost-effective solution. And we also help cut down costs by providing these, visualization solutions in-house rather than having to, um, outsource or have to get any third parties involved. We also provide users with seamless workflow integrations, so users can use all our different tools. So one of the challenges is the workflow integration. So switching to a new tool can be challenging due to high learning costs and difficulty achieving seamless integration. So with our LifeSync plugin, we offer seamless workflow integrations with features like LifeSync for quick previews. So any modeling changes you do in Rhino, for example, will automatically be applied in D5 Render. We also offer superb rendering quality. So one of the concerns here is that clients are increasingly demanding higher quality in renderings. So with D5 Render, we offer you photorealistic results at a easier barrier. So D5 Render provides a wide range of tools and templates that enable users to achieve photorealistic results with just a few clicks, ensuring high quality outputs that meet professional standards. And then lastly, users have said that they have a difficult time creating all these high quality materials. So difficulty in creating high quality materials can slow down the design process and affect the overall visual impact of the project. So again, D5 Render has a solution for that by providing you with over 13,000 different high quality assets and all our different AI features that help increase productivity. So how can D5 Render solutions further enhance your design process seamlessly? And as I previously mentioned, we have LifeSync modeling plugins for your preferred modeling tools. And so for Rhino specifically, we do have this LifeSync feature so that anything you do within Rhino will automatically be updated in D5 Render. So this can help you make your design decisions within D5 Render, within Rhino, and then see how it would look in a photorealistic viewport within D5 Render. And so speaking of our asset library, as I mentioned, we have over 13,000 unique assets. And so that'll include photorealistic PBR textures, as well as furniture, all of which are customizable. So you can go ahead and swap out the textures in these furniture pieces. And our vegetation library, which we're really proud of. We have close to 4,000 different furniture assets, some of which are animated and can be used for creating cinematic animations of your projects. And moving on to a more in-depth look at our asset library, as I mentioned, we have animated plants. We also have animated particles, so something like these fire flames that you can see here in the chimney, and animated characters as well. And we also provide you with animated vehicles and different assets that you can place in your scene in order to make them come to life. And here's that scatter feature that I was referring to earlier. So with the scatter feature, you can turn a blank canvas into a sprawling forest scape, as you can see here in the end result. And the great thing about this is that you can achieve this look within just a few clicks in D5 Render, as well as allowing you to have this, high complex scene in D5 Render and have D5 Render run smoothly without any bottlenecks. Here's just a quick demonstration of what that D5 scatter feature looks like. And again, we can talk about this more during the live demo. And then we've also gone ahead and introduced some AI features that are more so meant to speed up your workflow rather than take any design agency from you, the designers, and sort of just help you speed up your process by having AI handle any repetitive tasks that might have been included in your workflow in the past. So for example, we have this AI material texture map. So all you need to do here is just upload a image of your texture, and then our AI model will automatically generate the normal, roughness, and AO, and all these additional channels that you might need in order to make your material look more photorealistic. We also have AI Ultra HD texture and AI Make Seamless. So if your original diffuse image isn't up to par to create all these different material channels, you can use our AI features in order to upscale that image and make it more high resolution. Or you can use AI Make Seamless to get rid of any seams so that your texture is repeatable and can be used for the AI material texture maps. And then we also offer AI Atmosphere Match. So with this feature, rather than having to play around with a bunch of different parameters, trying to test out what each different slider does, all you need to do here is just upload a reference image that you might have found online or that somebody from within the studio has already created. And I can then upload that image as a reference image, take a screenshot of my current viewport, and then our AI model will do its best to play around with the sliders, do any color correction adjustments, as well as selecting the best HDRI that works for your scene. And again, this is a huge time saver so that, again, you're not having to play around with a bunch of different parameters and spend time learning a new software. You can just rely on our AI model. And then the latest feature is this AI enhancer. So this is a one-click solution to bring your renderings to that next level of photorealism. You just need to upload your finished rendering, and then our AI model will apply some enhancements such as detailing, lighting, reflection, um, all of that. So yeah, I'll pull up some reference images during the demo as well. So here is a quick video of what that AI enhancer looks like. As you can see, you just need to upload the base rendering, and then our AI enhancer will work on the materials as well as the reflections and anything else in our scene in order to, bring it to that next level of photorealism. And another unique feature to D5 Render is that we do offer a Teams tier. So with D5 Render Teams, it's a way for teams to collaborate with one another. So users can actually create a shared library. So any assets that are specific to your studio or to the project can be shared and distributed amongst different team members. And you can, more than just having a shared asset library, you can also create a Teams project. And with the Teams project, you can actually work together on a single project to build it up together. And the way you do that is by splitting up your project into multiple different work sets, or you can think of them as layers. And so each user can jump into one layer while another is jumping on another. And so both of those team members can work together to build up that project together. And then lastly, we also offer the virtual tour with this Teams tier. So users can upload panel images as a URL link and pull them up on a site visit or share with team members. And then I can also pull out an example of what that looks like with D5 Render. So, D5 Render is committed to make D5 as accessible to everyone. And so the way that we do that is providing users with competitive pricing tiers. So we do have the community and education models, which are free of use, just to get things, just to get users accustomed to D5 Render. And then we have D5 Pro. So this is our advanced tier. So if users want to take advantage of our asset library as well as our AI features, they can go ahead and jump on the Pros membership and take full advantage of that. And then lastly, we have D5 Teams. So this is for the more collaborative approach. So if you want to create that shared library, or if you want to create a project that multiple people can jump on, this would be the tier for you. So with all that being said, I'm happy to jump into the demo portion of this webinar just to give you a real-time hands-on look of D5 Render. So to get things started, you're going to want to go to our website. And then from here, you'll just go to download. And if you scroll down, you'll see all our different plugin support for all your different modeling tools. And if you keep scrolling down, you'll see we have Rhino LifeSync. So you're just going to want to go ahead and download and install this. And once it's installed, it'll show up in your Rhino toolbar. So I'll just pull up my Rhino model here. And so once you have your Rhino model opened, you'll see that we have this D5 Render toolbar. And so from here, you can start D5 Render, and Rhino will automatically export all the geometry and materials to D5 Render. So one important thing to know when you're setting up your Rhino model for D5 Render is that D5 Render sort of organizes your model based on materiality. So if you want to apply different materials to this wall and this roof, you're going to want to assign different textures. And so that doesn't mean that you have to spend time creating these materials in Rhino. All you really need to do is just go and select a geometry piece. And then from here, you're just going to want to assign a material name. So that's all D5 Render is really picking up on, is just the material name. So again, you don't need to spend too much time focusing on materials within Rhino. Another thing to note is that you can add cameras and lights from D5 Render, but if you've already spent time adding those in Rhino, or if you're more comfortable adding lights and cameras in Rhino, you can always do so and then use these two buttons here to export them into D5 Render. So now that we have that out of the way and our model is fully prepped, I'll just go ahead and click on this icon here, and I'll hit OK. And then I'll get a little notification here in D5 Render. And as you can see here, this model is completely synced. So now all I need to do is just go ahead and navigate. As you can see, anything that I do within Rhino is automatically being copied over and mimicked in D5 Render. So this is how I can, again, make any modeling design changes in Rhino and get that real-time feedback within D5 Render. And so this doesn't just translate to camera movements, this also includes modeling changes. So if I go to this patch of grass here, I can go ahead and create a cube from within Rhino. And that change will automatically be reflected in D5 Render. I'll just go ahead and delete this. And one of the great features of this Rhino plugin, which you'll see in our next update, is this export function. So now if I scroll to these cubes here, I can go ahead and click on them. And then I can click on this button. And so rather than live syncing my Rhino model to D5 Render, it'll just create a D5A export, which is the native format that D5 Render reads. So I'll just go in here and hit export, and I'll export by selected object, and I'll do 2-layer structure, and I'll hit export. So the reason why I might want to do that is because if you'll take a look at my D5 Render project, you'll notice that my Rhino model came in as just one single object. But since I went ahead and did this 2-layer export, now all my objects will come in individually. So if I go into import, I can go ahead and import that those cubes that I just exported from Rhino, and I'll go into imported. I'll add it into my scene, and then I'll just click on this icon here. So that'll drop it into the exact same location as my Rhino model. And I'll just bring them out so you can see clearly. So now I can go into my object list, and if I scroll down, you'll see that each of these cubes came in as individual objects. And this is important because now what I can do is I can go ahead and select them all, right click and hit replace from assets. And now I can actually go ahead and swap them out with some high quality D5 Render assets. So I can go ahead and swap it out for this chair here, as you can see. So the reason why you might want to do that is since D5 Render is a standalone visualization tool, what that means is that you don't need to slow down your modeling tool with any complex geometry. Since D5 Render is pretty good at handling complex geometry, you can just leave all of that heavy models to D5 Render to handle. So what you can do is you can add a bunch of placeholders within you can add a bunch of placeholders within Rhino or some proxy models in Rhino, and then export them to D5 Render and then swap them out with one of our high quality assets. So again, that's the general workflow when it comes to Rhino to D5 Render. It's really as simple as just hitting this live sync button, and then all your materials and geometry will be exported to D5 Render. And then we do offer you the option to export this out as a native D5A file as well if you wanted to import that into D5 Render. So now that we've covered the workflow, we can take a look at some of the features within D5 Render. So one of the things that makes D5 Render is pretty unique is our AI features. So as I mentioned, these are really just meant to speed up your workflow rather than take away any design agency from you as the designer. So one of these features is this AI atmosphere match. So all I need to do here is just upload a reference image, and I'll just do a nighttime rendering for now. And I'll take a current screenshot of my model, and I'll hit start generating. So now what our AI model is doing is just comparing these two images, going ahead and playing with these sliders, as well as applying different color correction tweaks and choosing a different HDRI. So rather than you having to do all these steps manually and having to play around with all these different parameters just to see if you can get a close result to that reference image, our AI model will handle all of that for you. And so here it is with the style being migrated. All right, and so this is the AI generated result. And since it actually went ahead and tweaked my settings for me, I can go back into effects and I can fine tune this image a little bit more to get that desired result. And once I'm happy with the effect, I'll just go ahead to my scene list and I'll save this out. And now it'll appear in my scene list. And what I can do now is I can right click on this and create a preset. So now that I've created a preset, I can go ahead and apply this look to all my different projects, or if I'm in the teams tier, I can go ahead and share this with other team members so they can apply it to their own projects. So here's just a few different presets that I've created in the past. So as you can see, I can just double click on them and toggle through them to see which one works best for my scene. Or if I have any studio standards, I can just double click on it and apply it to my project without having to manually play with the parameters. The other AI feature is related to material creation. So if I just zoom into this patch of grass here, I'll go to my asset library and I'll just drop in a sculpture for now. So let me create a scene here and I'll just go ahead and scale it up. So what I can do now is I can bring up my eyedropper tool by pressing I and clicking on this sculpture, and I'll just go ahead and delete all the material channels here. So now all I need to do is upload a base color image. And again, this could have been from a material spec or a site visit. And I'll just apply this marble texture. And as you can see here, this texture has a seam. So in the past, I might have to take this across multiple different softwares in order to get rid of the seam. Might take it into Photoshop and start to do some blurring and some other tips and tricks in order to like get rid of this. But now all I need to do from D5 Render is just click on this icon and hit make seamless. And D5 Render will do its best to get rid of these seams for you. All right, so it looks like it's done. And now all I need to do is hit OK. And once I'm happy with the results, I can either upscale this image or I can just click on this button here. And what this will do is it'll actually go ahead and generate my normals, my roughness, and my AO. Everything that I need in order to make this a more photorealistic material. I'll just go ahead and reduce the normals since it is marble, and play around with my AO and maybe tone down the roughness so I get some more reflections. And once I'm happy with the material creation, I'll just scroll up and I can either add it to my local library or again to my team's library and share with different team members. So if I open up my asset library, you'll notice that I have my local library, which is specific to me. And I also have my team's library, which is the shared library that I can pull from and add to my different projects. And since we're on the topic of asset library, maybe we can take a look at just how robust our asset library is. So all I need to do is hit M, and then from here, you can take a look at all the different models that we provide to you. We have a wide collection of nature assets as well as different characters. In our latest update, we went ahead and added some construction workers in here. So again, we're always listening to our users. And so more construction assets was something that was frequently requested. And so we went ahead and updated them and added them to our into our asset library. Besides models, we also have materials, particle systems. So if you want to include any fire effects, any water effects, or any like bird animations, you can find them in here. We also have this scatter feature. And then lastly, we have our HDRIs that you can use to add to your scene. And so again, having a wide asset library or a diverse asset library is just one part of the solution. The other part is making it easier for the users to add different characters and assets into their scene. So we do that by offering you with a bunch of different tools. So here, what you can do is you can click on this path tool and add a character path. And then D5 Render will open up its asset library and then ask you to add those different characters to your animation path. So here I'll do dynamic only, and I'll type in walking. So now I can select the best assets for this. So I can do these two over here. And then maybe I'll add this one as well. So now I just need to create that path along my scene, hit done. And as you'll notice, our assets are kind of floating right now. So what I need to do is just click on drop and they'll be aligned to our terrain. And you can do this for characters. You can also do this for foliage, or if you prefer, we also offer this brush tool. So you just need to click on brush. And again, just select your different assets. And now you can actually start to paint them into your scene. So let's see here. All right. And so, of course, you can take this painterly approach by going ahead and painting each tree into your scene. But what you can do as well is you can take advantage of our new D5 scatter feature, which is a powerful feature to, again, add foliage or to a large landscape scene. So what I'll do here is I'll just go ahead and click on this scatter area here, and I'll just go ahead and delete it for now. So we'll just give D5 Render a little bit of time to think here. All right. So now that it's gone ahead and deleted all these different foliage assets, I'll just go in here to D5 scatter, and I'll select by material, and I'll select this patch of dirt here, and I'll hit create. And now what I can do is I can select content preset, or sorry, global scatter presets, which will bring up our asset library. And so you can think of these global presets as more of like the patterning of these different landscape areas. So for example, I can select this checkerboard lawn, and it'll apply this checkerboard texture to our lawn here. So I'll just go ahead and zoom out so you can see that a bit clearly. And let me go ahead and actually bump up the exposure. So now as you'll notice, it added that checkerboard texture to our scene. And now I can go ahead and select show highlights. And what you'll notice is that D5 Render created two different sub areas. We have sub area 0 and sub area 1. So we can jump into sub area 0, for example, and select our content preset here, which will again bring up our asset library. And now we can select different content presets. So we can do this floral hexagon turf, and that should only be applied to this blue highlighted area. And the great thing about this is that this is all being determined by just a simple image file or a high contrast image file, as you can see here. And what that means is that you can actually upload your own custom image files. So if you're working on a green wall feature, or if you have a very intricate lawn design, you can just upload an image file here. For example, I'll upload this D5 Render logo. And now you'll start to see all these different assets conform to that image file that I just uploaded, as you can see here. And this image file can contain up to 10 different distinct colors. And D5 Render will split up each color into its own scatter area. And this new feature that we rolled out is this culling effect. So if you had any walking paths, or if you wanted to create any natural transitions, all you need to do is, for example, I'll just create a new layer. And then I'll go into my asset library, and I'll go into model, basic model, and then I will just add a cube into my scene. And now I'll just unlink the size so that I can scale it either which way. All right. And so now what I can do is I can go back into the scatter area, scroll down to where it says effects. I'll add a culling effect, and then I'll select this box that I just added and hit create. So now I'll just go ahead and hide that layer so you can see clearly what this effect is doing. So as you can see, wherever that overlap was happening, it went ahead and deleted any scatter assets. And now I can go back into this culling effect, and I can add a fall off. So I can make this transition a bit more natural. So I can play with the distance, the density, and the scale. So again, if I had, say, like a hardscape here and the landscape over here, I can make more of a natural transition between those two different types of landscapes. So let me go back and actually get rid of this layer here. And what I'll do now is hit regenerate, which will bring those foliage assets back into my scene. And actually, let me go ahead and delete the scatter area altogether and just add a more natural lawn effect here. All right, and while we wait for D5 Render to add the foliage assets, I'll just talk about the next part. So, creating these beautiful scenes within D5 Render is just one part of the process. The second part is, how do we actually get this in front of the client's eyes, and how do we present this imagery to the client? So you can, of course, go and click on this icon here, which will go ahead and render a flat image or a panorama. And then we have a bunch of different options to choose from. You can render images up to 16K if you want to print these out on a banner. And then you can also go into option. And then from here, you can select the different channels for your rendering. And then we also allow you to create animations from your D5 render file. And the way to create animations is pretty simple. All you need to do is just hit this plus button, which will create a new clip. And now all you need to do is just go to the starting point of your animation and then go into template. And then from here, you can click on one of these templates and it'll apply this animation to your camera scene. So I'll just go ahead and hit play. And as you can see, it applied that animation to my camera. And of course, you do have some flexibility. So you can go ahead and change this to, let's say 10 seconds. And rather than 200, I'll do 500. So now it'll cover a larger amount of area in a longer time set. So the idea here is that you don't need to spend too much time creating a cinematic animation. You can really just go from start point to start point and then choose a template that best suits your scene. So here in clip 1, you'll see that all of these clips here were created just by using these templates. So I'll go ahead and hit play. And as you can see here, we have a nice cinematic that's ready to be presented to the client. And the other great thing about D5 Render is that what you see is what you get in terms of like whatever is being previewed in your viewport is pretty much identical to the type of quality you'll see at the time of render. So there's no need to like second guess or think about what like the final product is going to look like. You'll have a pretty clear idea just by staring at the viewport here. So I can show you just some of like the rendering results that you can get from D5 Render. So if I go into renderings here are the renderings. And as you can see, they're pretty much identical to what we were seeing in our viewport. Even the animation here is pretty much identical to that viewport. And since D5 Render is a real-time rendering solution, you also don't have to spend too much time waiting for all your renderings to generate. None of the images that I was showing you earlier took more than a minute to render. This animation itself probably took my machine 10 minutes to render as well. And as I was saying earlier, we do have a bunch of different AI features. And our latest AI feature is this AI enhancer. So once you've rendered out an image, you can open up your render queue here and then go into history. And now every time I hover over an image file, you'll get this purple icon. So I can actually click on this purple icon and it'll pull up our AI enhancer. So from here, you have a couple different options. You can do specified partition. So you can select specific areas of your scene that you want to enhance, or you could take a more wholesale approach and apply an AI enhancement to your whole image, and you can play around with different intensities such as weak, normal, and strong. And so if I pull up my render folder here, you can take a look at some of those results. So here is the base rendering. And then here is the low AI enhancement effect. So as you can see, it went ahead and added more details to the grass, as well as our reflections and materials. And here is low. And then finally, we have strong. So as you can see here, it went ahead and added some clouds, it added some shadows. So it went ahead and did its best in order to make this look as photorealistic as possible. And again, this is just a one-click solution that users can use in order to take that to get to that next level of photorealism. And the last thing I wanted to show is our Teams feature. So with D5 Render Teams, users can work collaboratively within the same project. And all they really need to do is just go into File and go into Multi-Editor Convert. And so now what they can do is they can create a bunch of different work sets. So you can think of work sets as different layers that only one person can check out at a time. And so you can organize these work sets by different types of disciplines within your studio. So I can do architecture, I can do landscape and interior. And since D5 Render is supports a bunch of different modeling tools, you can also separate these by the types of different modeling tools that your studio is using. So maybe this one will be my Rhino model, this one will be my SketchUp file, and maybe Revit. Or the other way you can think of this as well is maybe I want to have all my Rhino work sessions exported as different models. And so I can apply each work session to each different work set. And once I have all my work sets created, I'll just go into my object list and I'll start to assign different objects to these work sets. And we generally recommend that you do this at the start of the project so that you're not having to sort through a bunch of different objects. And you only really need to sort just your base models to these work sets. And once I'm happy with the sorting, I'll just go ahead and hit save and convert project. So I'll just close out of this project for now and open up a Teams file. And the first time that I open up this project, a little pop-up window will show up asking me which work set I want to open up. So I can either open up the central file or I can open up one of the corresponding work sets. So here is that pop-up window. So I'll just go ahead and hit landscape and select performance mode on. So the performance mode really comes in handy if you're working within like a large urban scale project. So again, you're handling a lot of materials, you're handling a lot of geometry. So with performance mode, it'll just make it so that any work set that you're not currently checking out is just rendered out as a white clay model. So this will help clear up some resources from your machine, so it's not having to load in all those extra materials that aren't really useful to the current work set that you're working on. Um, and of course, you can always go ahead and turn that option off so you can't see those materials. So here is my Teams file. And as you can see here, architecture is completely texturized and architecture is rendered out as a white clay model. And I can always double check this by going into this drop down menu, which will show that only landscape is editable and everything else is read only. I also have this notification center here. So in the case that I have two different users working on two different work sets and the other user went ahead and wrapped up all their changes and saved out their project, I'll just get a little notification over here letting me know that the project's been saved, in which case I can go ahead and hit update in order to see all their changes reflected in my model. And then you can also work non-destructively. So if I go into brush, and again, I just start to paint in a random tree into my scene, you'll see that it's only going to be applied to this landscape work set. And as soon as I hover over architecture, it's completely disabled. So I can't interfere with other work sets. And I'll just hit Alt in order to go ahead and delete all these trees. And then lastly, we have this comment section here. So from here, you can go and hit plus. And I can add my comment. I can also tag a user, add a reference image, and also tag where that comment lives. So there's no room for interpretation. You know, if I read a comment that says remove trees, I can just click on this button here and I know exactly which batch of trees or which specific tree they are referring to. So I can go ahead and delete it. And so again, that's just the big picture when it comes to D5 Render Teams, is that you do get this shared library that you can collaborate with amongst different team members. You also have this multi-editor project that you can use. And then lastly, we have the auto tours. So if I click on this button here and hit edit, you can just jump from hotspot to hotspot. And so for each hotspot that you create, D5 Render will generate a 360 panel, upload it, and distribute it as a URL link that you can then share with different clients, or you can pull up on a site visit. So I can show you exactly what that looks like here. So this is the auto tour. So we have a bunch of different hotspots that we can click on in order to take us from different location to different location, or from different panel to different panel. And in our latest update, we also went ahead and included this 3D feature. So from all these different panels that you've created, D5 Render will create a 3D dollhouse. So if I just click on this, you can see what that effect looks like. So again, yeah, we covered a lot during this presentation, so I hope that was helpful for you all. So for the next portion of this webinar, I think we can open it up to any questions that any users might have. Again, I know we covered a lot, so this is a chance now for you to ask more questions so that we can go more in depth and answer any, anything that might not have been cleared or that you're interested to learn about.
Yeah, this is the best time for you to take advantage of Jeff while we have it. We have his attention. And also, well, we'll be waiting for somebody to type in question. There's none of the time. So do you want to say something about the, the survey?
Yeah, so again, we're always listening to our users. Part of your feedback is what makes D5 Render so great. And so if you can just take a moment of your day to scan this QR code, provide us with any feedback, anything you might want to see in future updates, stuff like that, you can go ahead and scan this QR code. Or if it's easier for you, I can go ahead and copy and paste this into the chat, and you can just click on that.
Great, thank you, Jeff. This is a great opportunity. I mean, if you are as speechless as I am after seeing the presentation, I understand why you might not have a question. Also, Jeff covered pretty much everything. But yeah, I would be totally curious in trying it. So it's a very impressive tool. And I think it's important to highlight the fact that D5 Render supports different modeling tools. So like SketchUp, Revit, and okay. So we have a question. Does D5 Render, yeah, works with, does D5 Render work with Rhino 5 or is it too way back?
Yeah, so D5 Render supports the latest iterations of Rhino. So as you can see here, we support 6 point up, we
Okay,
support up to
season up.
6.1.
Okay, sorry. Looks like you need to update your Rhino, but guess what? We do have Rhino at Noveg and at the best possible price point. So check it out. And I think that's it for question. Oh no, there's another question. Does D5 Render support Vectorworks?
Yes, in our latest update, we actually went ahead and added Vectorworks to one of our supported plugins. And this is actually a LiveSync plugin. So any modeling changes that you do in Vectorworks will automatically be translated in D5 Render, as you saw with Rhino.
Fantastic, because I think, yeah, we have a lot of um, Vectorworks using among our audience. So great, good to know. I think there are no further questions. What I'm going to do to wrap it up also, make sure you write down this link or email address, but I'm taking it over just to show you where you can find the 5 render on the Noveg website. And I want to remind everybody that Noveg is changing the way designers purchase 3D software, offering more choices, more freedom, best advice, and faster service. And on top of that, you can get both D5 Render and Rhino and Revit and SketchUp. So just check us out. This webinar is recorded and will be posted on YouTube later today. Thanks again for joining us today, and thank you so much, Jeff, for an incredible demonstration. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. And do you want to add anything, Jeff?
No, just thank you again for having me. And again, aside from just YouTube, we also have a extensive YouTube library. So if there are any questions, we probably have a tutorial there as well, some examples, some projects you can check out. So again, a lot of resources. Just head on over to our website and feel free to check those out.
Fantastic. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Bye bye.
Great. Thanks, everyone.